Hey there, fellow sports gamblers. It's Steel Picks for you with the 5 best NBA prize picks and underdog free picks for today, April 3rd. Before we run down the picks for today's games, let's do a quick recap of what happened last night. Our MVP showdown that we were talking about never really came to fruition. It did not go down the way that we had anticipated, unfortunately, for a lot of different reasons. First off, the Oklahoma City Thunders were just beating the hell out of the Lakers, up by 31. And shortly into the third quarter, my main man, Luka Doncic, hurt his hamstring, so was not able to continue the game. A lot of people were asking the question, why was he even still in there, given the fact that the Lakers really had no chance to win? But at any case, for our betting purposes, he did not go over the 24.5 field goal attempts, and he did not go over the 32.5 points that we predicted. And from that same game, because the game was such a blowout, as a matter of fact, the score was 112-67 at the end of the third quarter, there was no reason for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to play anymore after the third quarter. Even though he had 28 points, the Oklahoma City Thunder saw what happened to Luka Doncic and definitely didn't want to risk their MVP going down in the same way that Luka did. So they pulled him in the third quarter. So he did not get over the 31.5 that we had hoped for him. And then Tobias Harris also suffered a knee contusion and ended the game with 2 points exiting in the first quarter. So he did not get anywhere near the 17.5 that we predicted for him. The only thing that did work out in our favor was LaMelo Ball going for 5 points in the first quarter and going over the 3.5 points that we needed. Now, as we build up rapport, fellow sports gamblers, I like to have complete transparency. And one of the things that I hate is losing. But I hate losing even more under extenuating circumstances, which tends to kind of get me on a rant about what could have been or what should have been and really how things transpired and how they didn't work in our favor. But at the same time, I'm a professional. I realize that things happen. Injuries are part of the game. And at the same time, I make no excuses and no explanations. It is what it is. The standard is the standard. So it's time to dust ourselves off and get back at it. So for today's picks, first off, we have Nickeil Alexander-Walker over 23.5 points and assists against the Brooklyn Nets. As you can see, Nickeil has definitely been doing his thing, going over this mark in 8 of the last 10 games. And as a matter of fact, quite a few of these games he's been going over in just points alone. As you can see, against Orlando, he had 41. Against Dallas, he was just a bucket away. Against Houston, he was just a bucket over. A slight miss here against Golden State. 26 at Memphis. At Detroit, he was just a bucket from going over. Could have hit a three-pointer in the game against Boston to go over. He was over against the Sacramento Kings. A little bit of a hiccup against Boston. Also the number one defense in the league, so not going to beat him up too much for that one. And then 32 points here against Orlando. So he's been hitting that number on the points alone pretty consistently. And then you throw in a few assists here, 5 against the Orlando Magic, another 6 here against Memphis, and high watermark in the last 10 games of 8 against the Sacramento Kings. Feel pretty confident about Nickeil Alexander-Walker being able to go over the points against the Brooklyn Nets. And as you all know, I'm not really a big Brooklyn Nets fan at this point. They don't really have anything to play for. I'm thinking more about their vacation plans and lottery pick position. So definitely not super focused on the court. So Nickeil Alexander will definitely have his chances to play against a team that doesn't really have a lot to play for. And as you can see, points allowed, they're very middle of the road. Assists allowed, they're inching towards the bottom third of the league. And Nickeil is definitely getting his minutes in. So he's getting about 33.5 minutes a game, 33 and a third on Wednesday against Orlando. He's definitely getting a chance to get his field goals up, or field goal attempts, I should say. High water mark here against Orlando. He put up 21 shots. And then again here, 18 against Detroit. And even in his last game against Orlando, he got up 16. So definitely going to get some chances to get some points there. And then we see here free throw attempts. Doing pretty good, getting himself to the line 7 times here against Boston, 9 against Sacramento, and then again 6 here again against Orlando. And Nickeil, as I've said, has gotten over the 23.5 points and assists in 6 straight games. Doing pretty well shooting guard-wise against Brooklyn. So definitely like Nickeil Alexander-Walker over 23.5 points and assists. PrizePicks likes him as well, as they have him at the -119. The next wager we have for you is Jaylen Brown over 32.5 points and assists against the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee Bucks, very similar to the Brooklyn Nets, don't have a lot to play for, and as we all know, do not have their perennial superstar MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo in the lineup, so even more opportunity for Jaylen Brown to do his thing. As we take a look at his last 10 games, he's been pretty much on fire, going over that 32.5 points and assists on points alone. Against Oklahoma City, he did that. Against Phoenix, he went for 41. Golden State, he was a bucket away from going over. Same against Memphis and Minnesota. Same against OKC. He actually did have the 43 against Miami, so definitely doing his thing with regards to that. And as aforementioned, the Milwaukee Bucks are bottom third of the league in points allowed and assists allowed. And Jaylen Brown should definitely have an opportunity to do his thing against them. He's averaging a consistent, somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes a game. High water mark being 40.6 against Oklahoma City, and most recently 40.1 against the Atlanta Hawks. Definitely doing his thing there. He's getting 21 field goal attempts, 29 shots against Miami. That's beautiful. 29 against Atlanta the game before, so definitely not shy about shooting the rock. And he's getting to the line at a pretty good clip. He had gone 14 against OKC and 14 attempts against Atlanta. A little bit of a fall off against the Heat, but certainly have an opportunity to get to the line against a Milwaukee Bucks team that is not that formidable on the defensive side. And against other small forwards, they have not really been that great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times they have not allowed their opponent to, or have allowed their opponent to go over that mark. So definitely liking Jaylen Brown over the 32.5 points and assists. Next up for us, Rudy Gobert, and we have him going over 22.5 points and rebounds. Definitely liking this pick. As you can see, Rudy's almost gone over this mark on points alone a few times during this last run, where he's gone over this mark 8 of his last 10, including this game here against Utah where he had the 21. That was his big mark. And then a few other games here against Portland where he had 18. But he's definitely been beasting on the boards. As you can see, we had 19 here against Phoenix, 15 here against Portland Trail Blazers, and even pretty consistently here, 14, 12, and 10 against Houston, Detroit, and Dallas. And the other thing that we have going for our favor is that Joel Embiid is going to be out for this game with some type of illness. So unfortunately, he won't be in the starting lineup, which makes things even better for Rudy Gobert. As a whole, the 76ers are not a very great defensive team in the bottom third of points allowed and also rebounds allowed. So should definitely give Rudy Gobert some time and space to do his thing. Rudy's been averaging some pretty consistent minutes over the last 10, averaging 31 minutes a game. Field goal attempts around 8, free throw attempts around 4, and then his rebound totals definitely have high watermark again in that Phoenix game, but 15, 14, 14, a little bit of a decline here recently. But again, he'll be playing against a team that does not have their starting center in Joel Embiid. So definitely opportunity for him to get some boards there. And of course, as we said before, he has exceeded this in 7 of his last 8 games. So definitely liking this pick. PrizePicks likes us as well, as they have him at minus 119. As a friendly reminder, when you sign up with BETR using my promo code WINCASH, you'll receive 2 anytime tokens worth up to $100 each. And when you sign up with Novig using my STEELEWINS promo code and spend $5, you'll get $50 in bonus money. So definitely opportunity to cash in there. Moving right along, our next pick is Anthony Edwards from that same game at the 76ers, going over 3.5 assists. I like this a lot more because Joel Embiid is not going to be in the game, giving Anthony Edwards more opportunity to assist to Rudy Gobert. So it's going to be a win-win for us for the Minnesota Timberwolves as they do their thing. And as you can see in the last 7 of the last 10 games, Anthony's been able to get over this, consistently hitting that 5. We see it here against the Clippers and also Clippers twice, actually. And then Golden State and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The only games was a slight lull here on the early March against Memphis, Toronto, and Orlando, where looks like he was taking more shots than really trying to get the rest of his teammates involved, but certainly think that there's an opportunity for him to do so against the Philadelphia Sixers without Joel Embiid. And then again, as you look at the Philadelphia Sixers assists allowed, they're in the bottom third of the league with regards to that. And if you look at his minutes over the last 10 games, consistently around 34.5 minutes a game. So Anthony Edwards is definitely focal point of the Timberwolves offense. He goes as far as they go, and one of his main responsibilities is getting the rest of his team involved. And in the last 10, he's been able to do that to a certain extent, and certainly over the 3.5 that they were predicting. As you can see, Sleeper has him at minus 141. Not liking him as much as PrizePicks and Underdog typically, but I still feel like Anthony Edwards is going to have his over 3.5 assists. And last but not least, we have Scottie Barnes over 7.5 assists against the Memphis Grizzlies. The Memphis Grizzlies are, again, one of those teams that don't have a lot to play for. Had a very tumultuous season, up and down. John Morant not liking his new coach. That's neither here nor there. From a professional perspective, let's just look at what Scottie Barnes has been able to do. As you can see, he's actually been double digits in his last 6 games. So well over the 7.5 assists that we're talking about. 10 against Utah, 12 against the Clippers, another 12 against the Pelicans, 15 against the Orlando Magic, 12 against the Pistons, and 10 against the Sacramento Kings. So definitely opportunistic with regards to dishing the rock. And as you can see, in points allowed, the Memphis Grizzlies, not very great, bottom third of the league. And against power forwards, pretty average, or a little bit less than average, 17th in the league. But definitely this overall thing is what we're looking at. So he should definitely be able to get some assists, passing the rock around to his teammates. As we can see, he's getting the consistent 31 minutes a game. High watermark being the 38 against Denver, 36.5 against the Pelicans, and even his last game, he was 35.3. So he's definitely going to get the opportunity to get some assists out there. And he's exceeded this 7.5 assists in 4 of his last 5 games on the road. And as you can see, 7 of the last 8 opponents against the Memphis Grizzlies have been able to get over their projected amount of assists. So to recap, our picks we have for today are Nickeil Alexander-Walker over 23.5 points and assists, Jaylen Brown over 32.5 points and assists, Rudy Gobert over 22 points and rebounds, Anthony Edwards over 3.5 assists, and Scottie Barnes over 7.5 assists. That's the 5 picks I have for you today. Please be sure to like and subscribe to the Steel Picks for You channel. And good luck, everyone.